I do a quick intro and just get right into it. But we have a special occasion, one that we all, well, mostly me, am lucky to have because he told me he'd never come on the show again, and then he unretired, and now he's back on the show again. ladies, ladies and gentlemen, the great Harry Barnett. Everybody, hello, Harry.
Well, I'm glad to have you given a round of applause right now, Dan. But I need to clarify a few things first of all.
Oh no.
Statement number one: I retired from podcasting. That does not mean that I will not appear as a guest on someone else's show,
Gotcha.
such as the fine show right here at the Craig Lagan Show.
Thank you, my friend.
Now, secondly, I don't remember number two because I have had head trauma in the past, which means that I forget things. But being the professional that I am, I can make things up as I go along. Just look right into my eyes. You look through these glasses because you can't see my eyes. But yeah, the fact of the matter is, Dan, it's great to be here on the Craig Lagan Show with the man himself that you can see right here on the Craig Lagan Show, along with his co-star, me.
Oh,
and Dan.
Ranger.
I obviously wrote you the other day saying, look, let's do this. The other day, it may have even been today. It may even be tomorrow. I don't know what day it is.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay, cool. I'm glad you're the professional diary that I need.
Anytime you need something, I got you.
Anywho, but yeah, I don't remember saying that I wouldn't appear on this show. Even we had that little that little.
You definitely said it, and another old friend concurred, and I was like, well, I guess I earned that one.
I have a letter somewhere that says from a professional doctor that I have to get serious for a minute, that I have a condition that I don't think I actually have ever said this on HIAC Talk Radio. I believe I've said it on podcasts before. I have what's called a cavernoma. It's basically a collection of blood cells that are like malformed, and that's on the vision part of my brain. But it can also affect things like memory, which, well, you guys are fully well aware that my memory is terrible anyway, but yeah, it's been messed up by this and head trauma in the past. But yeah, memory, vision, because it's on the vision part of my brain, stuff like balance, speech, and things like that. And not to really take this in a long story, because we got plenty of things to talk about tonight. We're going to have some great fun. But this all really started last year, probably on one of my many award-winning appearances on this show last year when I was the 2019 Guest of the Year. Right here.
I voted for you.
Show. I appreciate that. I mean, on the ballot of two, then I'm glad that I at least got the one vote that mattered. Of course, because I don't think I got the other vote. Dan was mad at the time. He broke his favorite sippy cup that was a Ghostbusters sippy cup.
It was a stink sippy cup, Harry, but I understand. Go ahead.
Quick little side note there as well, Dan. Our dear friend Brady Hicks is now a Ghostbuster.
I saw that. I saw it. I followed him on Twitter. I'm like, oh, he's hunting ghosts now. We just need a car with blue lights, and we're in business.
I did tell him that you would now be his biggest fan. And he liked my post. He liked what I wrote. It was on the Instagram. The great Harry Barnett.
Oh, I missed that. I missed that post. I gotta go like that post.
But yeah, so to take that back to where I was, the cavernoma thing started when it was obviously concussion. I hit my head. Turns out that maybe it was actually a good thing I hit my head to actually discover this cavernoma, because otherwise I would have been walking around, never really would have known. Damn thing could have bled, and I actually could have died, because if your brain bleeds, there's a chance you can die.
No.
But obviously, when I had the concussion, a dear friend, Vito Lagrasso, some of you may have heard of the man. He wrestled in WCW.
Who knows a bit about head trauma?
Knows a bit about head trauma. He was very good to me around the time. And Dan, Craig, I'm not sure if either of you have actually seen this yet, but his wife Noelle had actually put out a documentary about everything that's been going on, and I was on the second part of that. You know, I was very happy to be involved with the Lagrassos, and I was very honoured to have been asked to be involved. Noel told me that Vito actually specifically said to have me do it, so yeah, that meant a lot. But no, other than that, I've had a very calm and quiet life, which for me, it's definitely something that's really unheard of. Because as the two gentlemen to my left and right, or both to my left or both to my right,
We're above you.
Well, all I can see is me right now. So yeah, but as they can attest, me having a quiet life really says something, because I'm this noisy, annoying,
Very true.
old man with glasses. But know that quiet life will shortly be coming to an end. No, I'm not dying. But the quietness will be coming to an end as from March 31st to April 5th, I believe the dates are.
Yes.
I will be back in the New Jersey, Philadelphia area. Anyone who wants to see me, because there are plenty of people over there who love me, Dan and Craig included. The best time to come and see me. Just to add, there's someone out there, and I'm not trying to take up too much of our time doing this, Dan, but there's someone out there who, you know, will probably be trying to exact revenge for something I had done to him 2 years ago. I'll pay anyone candy to keep that trash away from me. And out of respect out of respect for Dan, I will not mention that trash's name.
Oh, no! You can mention the trash. I just, my warning was, once we go live, I'm not editing the trash out. I just wanted to give you a warning, so you can say whatever you want.
Out of respect for Dan, I'll keep his name.
Hey, you're talking about Kenny Bolin.
Exactly, yeah. If he can walk there, then you know,
I don't care if he's met. I don't really care.
I wouldn't waste my candy on that man. Even though I once gave him a slice of a brownie thing that I bought at Kroger, and he asked for two. Take one, you. No, I'm not going to go there. No,
I mean, he takes a lot of things for free.
Exactly. So
and that's all I'm going to say.
But to wind this up, yeah, from the 5th, from the 31st of March until the 5th, there's I think it's Shocking All Pro Wrestling. There's Sean Henderson's show. He's got a fancy name that I can't remember off the top of my head. I just remember Sean Henderson. Synergy and
Sean Henderson's show. Yeah, hold on, keep going.
Yeah. Happily Ever After, I think it is.
Yeah.
Synergy and H2O, obviously. My dear friends, our dear friends, the Tremonts, obviously. It's their building, so yeah, I'll be with them a great deal of time. But yeah, to really close this whole little monologue off, if you will. Big fan of the term "if you will" as well. Not in a dusty way. It was when, although you know the dusty thing is pretty cool, but it was when the Reverse Flash was just revealed as the Reverse Flash, and it says a speed mirage, if you will.
If you will.
But yeah, to close that out, I do have one person that I need to bury, Dan.
Uh-oh.
And you're not actually going to see this one coming. I'm going to say this now. It's not you. It's not the Grandmaster of this fine show, Craig Legans.
Who's missing right now? So after this is over, we're going to have to pause.
Okay.
Go ahead.
There is a man out there who is a dear friend of both of us who had some words to say when I 3D printed my shoes. And I am going to see that not only is this man proven wrong, but Jimmy Lyon, once I have these 3D printed shoes printed, I'm going to stamp on your bare feet. You wrestle without shoes. You wrestle without shoes. Look, I'm gonna do you a solid. I'm gonna take these glasses off. Look into my eyes, you redneck bastard. I'm going to come over there and stamp on your feet, and you're gonna find out that this is going to hold in one piece. When I stamp on your feet, you're going to cry some redneck tears, and you're going to go back to your redneck moonshine with all 1,200 of your cats. Whether that's Chris Meowver, whether that's Mouth Angel, whether that's Kitty Hart Jr., because, I did accuse him of having a cat dealer of a man who has just recently gone to jail. Teddy Hart.
That heat I don't want. Actually, I don't care about that either. Never mind.
But all 200,057.6 of your cats will have to meow your feet back to health, because I'm going to stamp on your feet with my perfect shoes that have been 3D printed. Of course, fine people out there can buy 3D prints of their own at TGHB3D on all good social media platforms. Now, Dan, I am done on what I have to say. If you have a rebuttal or anything to say...
I was going to say, the only thing that's going to fall apart when you stamp his feet with those shoes is his feet.
Exactly.
He's got weak feet.
I know, I saw him... oh, no, wait. I was going to say I saw him bite Fredo Major's foot, but no, it was the other way around, or I don't know. But, yeah, I am not happy with that redneck motherfucker, and I say to you this, I will show him that these shoes are made of something.
And it is that time again for us to travel back in the Wayback Machine. We go back to a time where territories ruled the world, where titles were actually called belts, where fans were called fans instead of the universe, and when sports entertainment was indeed professional wrestling. It's time for the best part of the Craig Lagan Show. This is called The Wrestling Historian. We're going to go back to February 13th, 1989, Daniel. Clash of Champions 5. This was a landmark Clash of Champions because it involved two things that the only two things that stood out. Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat had a showdown to promote their upcoming NWA title match. Ric Flair came out with a bevy of women, like 5 on each arm, and or as Woody Harrelson would say in Cheers, he had like 6 girls, like 1 on each arm. And Ricky came out to his wife and child because Ricky Steamboat was the family man, and that was supposed to make him a baby face, while Ric Flair lived the limousine riding, jet flying whole lifestyle, and he came in with a bevy of beauty, so he was naturally supposed to be the heel. As Gordon Soley would say, didn't work out that way, and Flair was roundly cheered. Not that Steamboat was booed, but Flair came out with a bunch of hot chicks. Steamboat said, "I don't respect you at all, Ric Flair. You don't respect the family," and didn't go over too well. Well, Flair and Steamboat wound up redoing the same angle they had done about 12 years earlier, where Rick first started to promote his lifestyle of limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, and Steamboat proceeded to rip off the suit of Ric Flair. In that first segment that took place in 1977, one of the women Flair came out with was named Bonnie, who would go on to be Ricky Steamboat's wife. So, fast forward 12 years later, Ricky Steamboat promoting himself as a family man and married to Bonnie Steamboat and had their young son Ricky. But in that Clash of Champions, they would recreate the same angle and Steamboat would strip Flair. On that same match, the main event was a 6-man tag team match between supposed to be the Road Warriors and Tenryu against Michael Hayes, Junkyard Dog, and Sting. A match never took place because Kevin Sullivan, that evil Kevin Sullivan, somehow locked Sting, Junkyard Dog, and Michael Hayes in their locker room or in a cage leading to their locker room. So Kevin Sullivan, Steve Williams, Dr. Death, and Mike Rotundo, the varsity club, took their place and wrestled the Road Warriors for the six-man tag team championship. Well, the Sting, JYD, and Michael Hayes somehow got out, and then they joined the match. So then you had 369 people in the ring, and no verdict was rendered. And this match so angered All Japan Wrestling that Tenryu never wrestled for the WCW again, and the six-man tag team championship was quickly eliminated. But
Interesting.
those are the two big things that came out of Clash of Champions 5 that night, February 13th, 1989. A similar Cluster F happened on that same date, February 13th, 1997, when a special Thursday edition of Monday Night Raw took place, where the then WWF champion Shawn Michaels came to the ring and gave a tearful speech about how he could no longer defend his WWF heavyweight title because of
Oh,
a knee injury, and that he no longer had his passion and that he had lost his smile. So Shawn Michaels, though well enough to walk to the ring and to deliver a very tearful speech, was not well enough to wrestle or even lay down and lose his championship. Obviously, as we know now, 13 years later, or almost 20 years later, Shawn was due to drop the belt back to Bret Hart at that year's WrestleMania and chose not to do so, some would say, or others say he really was hurt. Either way, Shawn Michaels never lost the belt to Bret Hart. So what was supposed to happen was the Fatal Four pay-per-view that was supposed to take place between Bret Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, and Vader for the number one contender was now going to be for the championship because Shawn Michaels vacated the WWF title on that Thursday night edition of Raw. And in a little side note, in a kind of a shape of things to come, on that same card, Dan, that Thursday night edition of Raw, Hunter Hearst Helmsley lost the Intercontinental Championship to Rocky Maivia,
ah,
to in Rock's very first championship ever in the WWE. That was
all
in
makes sense.
1997. So the shape of things to come. February 15th, 1996. Sorry, February 15th, 1986. Very important date on Saturday night's main event TV taping. Um, this was one of the earlier ones. This was 1986. That was going to set up WrestleMania 2. This was the main event that had Mr. T going against boxing Bob Orton, Randy's dad, in a boxing match. In a match that had a kind of a shoot because Roddy Piper, who at this point had real serious heat with Mr. T, threw the stool at the that Bob Orton was sitting on, threw it across the ring at Mr. T, and without any regard of who it hit or aiming for Mr. T, but very upset. And this would set up the Mr. T Roddy Piper boxing match at WrestleMania 2. The main event was Hulk Hogan against Magnificent Morocco. Magnificent Morocco's manager, Mr. Fuji, claimed to be sick, even going so far as laying down on a bench in the dressing room in a full tuxedo and derby with an ice bag on the derby hat to show how sick he was. So he couldn't make it. So Bobby Heenan accompanied the Magnificent Morocco to the title match against Hulk Hogan. When lo and behold, King Kong Bundy, one of Bobby Heenan's charges, came to the ring and splashed Hogan repeatedly in the corner. Hogan was stretchered out, and that would set up the King Kong Bundy versus Hulk Hogan main event at WrestleMania 2
With a blotter.
with a blotter, and two other big things that happened at this Saturday night's main event. Dan, uh, Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake defeated the British Bulldogs, setting up their match for the tag team championship.
Ah.
But guess what song they came into? Do you remember what their entrance music? Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake's entrance music before the WWF started to create their own original music, thanks to Jimmy Hart.
I'm gonna I'm gonna be ashamed to not know the answer, but no, I don't remember.
Harry, any guesses? It's from your neck of the woods.
Oh, it is Phil?
The Beatles.
Close. Greg Valentine and Brutus Beefcake, when they came into the ring, their entrance music was "We Are the Champions."
Oh, Queen.
Ah,
Okay,
fuck.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they also used as you pointed out many times, they used Take Me Home by Phil Collins as the credit song when they were on NBC. So,
yeah. And they use Animotion to start the Saturday Night's main event. And to this day, I cannot hear "Owner of a Lonely Heart" without thinking of Piper's Pit,
no, nope.
because that ended every Piper's Pit. But finally, on this date, February 15th, 1986, on that Saturday Night's main event, if we're talking about songs, that Dan was the debut of Hulk Hogan's entrance music, "Real American."
Ah.
Started February 15th, 1986. Uh, I went to some sad news. That same day, February 15th, 1999, we said goodbye to an amazing talent, a young man by the name of Louis Spicolli. Passed away
Oh.
February 15th, 1999. He had been a horrible way to go. He mixed alcohol and somas to get to sleep, and he vomited in his sleep and choked to death. But what I didn't know about him, he was a 10-year veteran,
Yeah.
and he died at 27.
Yeah.
He had done a lot in a short amount of time. I mean, went from the WWF to the ECW, back to the WWF as Rad Radford, and he was supposed to be, thanks to his friendship with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and Sean Waltman, to be pushed as a lackey for the NWO before his untimely death at the age of 27. One of the many who joined the 27 club, but yeah, we said goodbye to Louis Spicolli February 15th, 1999.
Man.
That same date, February 15th, 2004, on the WWE No Way Out pay-per-view for the WWE title. Even though it took some help from Goldberg in a match that lasted 30 minutes and 40 seconds. Hard to believe now. A main event featuring would last that long, a 30-minute main event. But February 15th, 2004, Brock Lesnar would lose the WWE Heavyweight Championship to Eddie Guerrero.
Loved that match when I was I don't remember how old I was. I was a kid, and yes, that was in the early days of actually staying up to watch these things. I love that. I loved
Yeah,
Eddie as well. That was
it,
brilliant.
it was. And the crowd, and it was in San Francisco, the crowd was unbelievably loud and it just got louder and louder, which is rare in a 30-minute match.
Yeah,
And the crowd was still on its feet at the end. Uh, Goldberg hit, that's the part they always leave out. Goldberg hit Lesnar with a spear, but he still had Eddie up for an F5, and Eddie DDT'd him on the belt, went up for the frog splash and hit it. Place went nuts. Eddie's mom was there. Chavo Sr. was there. It was a great moment. And as much as we all love Eddie, continue to love Eddie, that was his only title reign. It started February 15th, 2004.
just to quickly jump in there, Craig, did either of you guys see that? I think Vicky has auctioned off his boots. I think it was from that title match, but there is
No.
a pair of his boots that are being auctioned off through somewhere. I think it's for charity.
Really?
Yeah, you see that, Dan?
No, I missed that. I can only imagine how much those are going to go for, because especially if it's from that title match specifically, as you said.
I
Mhm.
think it is. I can't
Let me
quote me
look
on
this
that. You
up.
can't quote me on that, but I think it's like 1 hour teas or somewhere like that they're doing like a raffle or something like that. Whereas
Yeah.
the money's going to a charity for Vicky.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Uh, February 16th, 1985. Very important date because it took place right here in the Philadelphia Spectrum in Philadelphia. After 2 years away, Bruno Sammartino came out of retirement. This was I now was revealed that Bruno came out at the behest of Vince McMahon to get his son over, and in this his first match back in 3 years, Bruno teamed with his son David to go up against a team of Paul Orndorff and Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Oh my God.
Sold out courts. This was at the height of WrestleMania, height
Jesus.
of Hulkamania. But Bruno came out to get his son at his behest, and Bruno would come back in the ring from time to time with his coming not just to help David, but uh, went up against Randy Savage, went up against Roddy Piper, went up against Bob Orton, and he only cited Orndorff as the only guy out of those that he didn't mind working with. He didn't want to work with any of those guys,
Of course not.
Piper, Honky Tonk, all that. But Orndorff was a guy that really he said really busted his ass, and he respected Paul Orndorff. But Bruno's first match back in 3 years came right here in Philly, um, with his son David against Paul Orndorff and Bobby Heenan.
Craig, if you don't mind, I just want to add on, just to, no, I don't want to correct Harry, but I just want to point out that Harry is correct. It is Pro Wrestling Tees that has these Eddie Guerrero, and I'm mentioning this because any one of us can get in on this. It's a $1 raffle with no purchase limit on Eddie
Whoa.
Guerrero's boots, and it's the boots that he wore in his last match ever.
Oh, okay. All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So it
So
wasn't the
it's
ones against Brock. It was the ones.
no, it's the gold ones that have the black flames on them,
Okay. So it
and
was the
it's
one he
go ahead.
against Kennedy. Yeah.
Yeah, against Kennedy on that SmackDown, and it's $1 with no limit to get a raffle ticket for these damn boots.
Wow.
So I think I might be doing that as well because that's insane. Go ahead, Mr. Lagans. The show is back to yours.
Well, thank you. Amazing. Um, uh, I mentioned it earlier in the top of the segment about the Shawn Michaels giving up the WWF Heavyweight Championship because he lost a smile. Well, uh, 3 days later, February 16th, 1997, on the actual Monday on Monday Night Raw, Bret Hart would indeed win the Final Four, defeating Steve Austin, Big Van Vader, and Undertaker. He did it by eliminating them over the top rope, though. It wasn't by pinfall. That way, everyone gets to stay strong. And Bret Hart would defeat the Undertaker, would throw him out last to win the WWF Heavyweight Championship for a fourth time. That will be his fourth title reign.
Wow.
That took place February 16th, 1997. February 17th, 1996, Dan.
Oh boy.
A very important moment in the professional wrestling that took place right here in Philadelphia at the ECW Cyber Slam. This is the beginning of the computer age in professional wrestling, where people could share the results of the ECW match online, if that was a thing back then, with their friends. So this was the ECW Cyber Slam, which featured the lights out, lights go out, lights come back on debut, the ECW of the not then released from WCW, Brian Pillman.
I literally just got past this point, and here comes Harry's opportunity. I know it's coming, so Craig, when I'm done, leave a space for his response. Um, this I literally just got past this point. I'm in June '96 now on the network of watching every show on the network in chronological order, which is an undertaking. Let me tell you, no pun intended. And they just got to. It's so quick. The Pillman stuff. He's off WCW. He's in ECW, and all of a sudden he's debuting on Raw. It was as quick as Austin's. Boom, boom, boom. Get him here. But the sound that building makes, that little ECW arena,
Oh my God.
at that debut, and whenever that man shows up, just goes to solidify what we've been saying. Stop smiling, Craig. It's not your turn yet. It solidifies what you and I have been saying. Not Craig. I'm sorry. Harry. Sorry. One. You look the same. Um, what you and I have been saying, Craig, for over a year, as long as we've been doing this show, that shut up, Harry. That not enough people talk about Brian Pillman these days, and how notorious in '96, '97 he was, and how revered and respected and loved he was, and how damn good he was. And I forgot the noise that that place makes when he's just standing there with his cane. It's one of those pops that, yeah, just pointing, and it gives you chills to this day. And maybe it's more so because, unfortunately, in 2 years he was dead. But that's just greatness standing there in that dingy little arena, and I mean that in a positive, with all due respect for Philadelphia and the ECW arena. I can't. Holy S. Go ahead, Harry.
Listen to this neck-bearded Mark just going on about WCW.
Nice.
His
Good.
little t-shirt and his stupid little tears.
Hey, is Shayna
Craig.
Baszler a vampire or what? I'm serious, and I need to know. Go ahead, Craig.
Public service announcement on the behalf of the great Harry Barnett, Dan Law, 83, and Craig Legans of the Craig Legans Show. If you have 19 followers and you think that you're going to throw insults around, and I'm even remotely tagged in that, but you're going to get nuked. I'm going to tell you that now. I don't care how calm I am now, how nice I play. I have a fucking cavernoma in my brain. I'm going to be calm until you piss me off with your stupid notifications. So play nice, or well, I hope you're not at an indie show where the referee doesn't like having insurance. So
Jesus Christ.
back to you, Craig.
All the edits. Of all the edits I thought I'd have to do, it's this one. Go ahead, Craig. Take it back away quickly, please.
Thank you, great one. The editorial comment. Yeah, the noise that accompanied the debut of Brian Pillman was indeed deafening, and if it wasn't for the tiny arena in at Swanson and Rittner, held out so many incredible debuts from wrestlers that don't wrestle there. Everyone
Yeah.
from uh, Arn Anderson and Bobby Eaton, uh, Jim Cornette, Jerry Lawler, but Brian Pillman's debut, fresh off his uh, I Respect You Booker Man pay-per-view appearance on WCW, just showed up, and with his back to the camera. I watched it on
Yeah.
TV, and I couldn't believe what I saw. And it wasn't until Joe was, "That's Brian Pillman!" And he gave, what's lost and all that. He gave one of the great promos
Yeah.
anyone had ever done in that entire year. And all that when he was still working for WCW, it was part of the shoot angle where he was trying to get his release. And in WCW and playing along gave him his release. And wouldn't you know it, he showed up in the WWE before the month is out. But yeah, February 17th, 1996, ECW CyberSlam, the ECW debut of Brian Pillman.
Unreal.
1 year later, we talked about, I just mentioned the previous Monday Night Raw that Bret Hart won the Final Four to become the WWF Heavyweight Champion for the fourth time. It will also be Bret Hart's shortest reign ever as WWF Champion because the very next night, on this night, February 17th, 1997, he would lose the belt to Sid. Psycho Sid, thanks to a chair shot by Stone Cold Steve Austin. One chair shot by Austin, power bomb later by Sid, and Sid is the new WWF Heavyweight Champion.
Meh.
And wouldn't you know, later on that WrestleMania, who did Sid lose his world championship to? Hmm. In the Alamo Dome in his hometown of San Antonio. Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well,
Some
we'll,
has
we'll
been.
yeah, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. That same date, February 17th, 2002, I talked about the debut of Brian Pillman and what a big deal that was. Well, February 17th, 2002, the WWE's No Way Out pay-per-view, the initials No Way Out, featured the debut in the WWE of the NWO.
Oh wow, yeah.
Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and for the first time in 10 years, the returning Hulk Hogan.
I always, I always talk about how much I don't like Hogan, but I put an asterisk in there. When he was Hollywood Hogan, I was a fan. It's the only, in my opinion, in my crappy neckbeard Mark opinion, as Harry would say. Nobody else of importance would say, but if Harry would say.
That's stupid as well.
Yes, neckbeard is very stupid. It doesn't
Those
make
are
any.
those are my words. That
Yes,
I'm
that,
not quite sure what the rest of it came over me, but don't forget stupid.
yeah, no, I completely understand.
Yeah.
But one of the things I always say is the hey Polygon Princess, what's going on? Sorry, I was on a roll there, and I was also laughing, so I'm not sure when you left that comment. Um, when his promos worked when he was a heel, as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't, even as a little kid, I couldn't stand or get Hulk Hogan. I know I'm in the minority there, but it is what it is. Him as Hollywood, that worked. And this is such a throwaway. It won't make anybody else laugh, I think. But at the end of that problem, never forget he's doing his kiss ass thing about how the NW here is not here to destroy the WWE with within. We're here to make friends. God bless all of you. And then he just looks at the camera and goes, and also, God bless America. He said it. It still cracks me up to this day. It's disingenuous BS from Hollywood Hogan. It's so stupid, but it always makes me laugh. And I still go ahead.
No, go ahead. What are you going to say?
I was going to say I still feel the NWO and the WWE could have worked if people didn't get injured, and I don't mean this. I mean this in a very sympathetic way. If
And Scott Hall is what he means.
yes, no, I was going to say if Scott Hall, and I mean this in a sympathetic way, if Scott Hall could have stayed off the alcohol and Nash didn't break his quad for the eighth time, that still would have worked. And of course, as Polygon Princess just pointed out, the contract stuff, which is always fun. But go ahead, Craig.
The interactions that the NWO had with Steve Austin and Rock, stuff I never thought I'd see. They ran into Steve Austin backstage, and hey, it's the toughest SOB in all of wrestling. And Austin said, "Get and here, Steve," and Scott Hall of all people handing Steve Austin a beer. The irony is not lost on me at all. Goes, "Here, we got your beer," and Stone Cold, look, "I ain't thirsty." Love that line, and he just takes it and throws it away. And then when Hogan went up when met Rock for the first time, wanted to get a picture taken with him, and he said, "So much for the people's taste." That cracked me up too. But that would set the stage, obviously, for the Hulk Hogan Rock match, which should have been the main event at that year's WrestleMania, booked expertly by Pat Patterson. But February 17th, 2002, the WWE debut of the NWO. More importantly, though, I can't stress this enough, the return for the first time in 10 years to Hulk Hogan to the WWE. Speaking of Hulk Hogan, February 18th, 1985, one of the most important dates in professional wrestling, because this was the match that kind of set, if it weren't for this match, there would have been no WrestleMania. February 18th, 1985, at Madison Square Garden, was the war to settle the score. Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper, with Cyndi Lauper in Hulk's corner, and sitting at ringside to cheer Hulk on, Mr. T. And did I lose you?
Nope, you're good. Keep going. Uh-oh. No, we lost Craig again.
Oh dear.
Oh, no.
Craig, you there?
Craig.
He looks like he's there. Maybe he just can't hit.
Oh, my
Looks like
God,
he's
Craig.
moving.
Oh, my God. It's horrible. Oh, no. No.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Danlaw 83 Twitch, I believe our dear friend Craig Legans has been hit with the terrible virus known as not getting the match that I won in Hornswoggle versus Mark Angel.
Was that it?
No.
Is that the reason? That's why?
Well, I mean, look, he's disappeared because he clearly wanted this match to happen, Dan.
All right, Polygon Princess is asking, what is the greatest WrestleMania match of all time?
The Rock versus Austin, WrestleMania 17. Notice how I didn't even have to think for a single second there. This comes from Mr. I don't like wrestling.
Yeah, that's true.
While we have this moment to sort of point out as well, I have actually been watching a few things, Dan.
Well, can I answer the question first?
Well, yeah, you can. It's your show.
Okay,
you
thank you. I was going to say that or Hart and Austin at WrestleMania 13. Wow, it all mixes up in my head. Polygon Princess wants Rosa Mendez to cut a 20-minute promo on Raw. Wait, what's Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah, that'll work. I'm okay with that. Of course. Not that I'm not okay with that, but yes, I would like to see that. Mostly because it'll make other people complain.
I love Rosa. She's awesome.
Yeah, Rosa's. I almost cursed again. Almost fantastic. No, Polygon. No, we're being serious, and I don't want it 20 minutes. I want it a half hour. Just her talking.
Does this face look like I'm not serious?
No, not this time.
I'm a clown without paint, Dan.
A clown without paint.
That's now my Twitter bio.
I thought I was a clown without paint.
No, you're just a clown, dummy. Anyway,
nice.
As I was saying before, I have been watching stuff. The other day I got bored. By the other day, I mean like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe 6 years from today. I got bored and I started going through my YouTube recommendations. And there was what are their names? It was one of those no ring matches, but it was in like an art museum or something. It was Anthony Gangone and what was the girl's name? Valentina.
Oh.
And it was like a nice little match.
Right.
And it was on her YouTube channel, and it got about 5 million. 5 million people watching for a little New York indie. I was quite impressed. Going from there, I watched, who was it? You remember Lucas?
Yeah.
DeSangro, came to New Moon.
Yeah, no, I remember Lucas.
Yeah. I had him send me a bunch of his matches. He's doing pretty well. And who was the other one? I had someone else send me the match. my dear friend, Cole County Crusher, a mutual friend of someone, and myself, had him send me a couple of matches. But no, I still watch some things. You know, I'm not a big fan of really watching wrestling because there's just so much crap out there. But
I will say this: I've had AEW on, and from start to AEW Countdown Revolution. From start to finish, AEW's been this is been one of the best Dynamite episodes since they've started. If not my favorite thus far, and the cage match is still happening. Harry, I was going to ask you, since we lost Craig, and I'm really not sure what to do about that. Before we talk about the actual topic I wanted to talk about, what took you out of wrestling?
I 50-50. Well, it's probably about three things. It's a three-way tie because let's put it this way. By the time the main thing happened, it was both. Well, WrestleMania. I went to WrestleMania, obviously, in 2015, and it was one of those things where I was like, all right, I'm at WrestleMania. Does it really get any better than this?
Right.
So it was like, at that point, I'd been to that one New Moon show with you guys. There was that UWC that I met Chondo at. And then, obviously WrestleMania. And at that point, I was just like, you know what? I'm not one of these people who goes to shows all the time. At that point, I wasn't really watching all the stuff on TV. I was keeping up. I was watching on YouTube, but I wasn't really completely following things. So I was just like, this is as good as it gets. Obviously, WrestleMania trip was a personal highlight for me. It was, a big deal for me. So that was one thing. The second thing was obviously when I was involved with Maya hates wrestling. So, it was kind of a common theme for both of us. And the third thing is just nothing really interests me, man. Like, unless I see people who really...
Is that better?
I want to say that is much better, Craig. It's good to have you right here on the Craig Lagan show.
Yeah, finish what you're saying, Harry, and we'll get Craig to go right back.
Okay, but as for not really liking what I'm seeing, like, it's one of those things where if you have any sort of negative thought, there's always that doubt in there. And obviously, I said, like, when it comes to friend stuff, so obviously if Chondo's doing stuff or H2O, people like that, they've got stuff going on. Like when I see that, or I really like Rosemary. Rosemary is awesome because she's a character. And they obviously went from having like the stuff with Ali and the Undead Realm.
She's fantastic.
Young. Yeah, because it's character stuff. And that's always been what I've been drawn to. I was drawn to The Rock, The Undertaker, Kane, that attitude era when there was characters. And now I see people who, I was obviously saying I was watching a couple of indies, and I'm seeing people who, some of them may not necessarily be characters, but they sort of have that character to them. Whereas if you're watching now, I cannot stand to watch things solely because I will just see people. When I say people, I don't just mean it's Joe Smith from this place. No character to him. Whereas I said about that New York the no ring match, those two Valentina and Anthony Gangone, they seem like they have character to them. Do you get what I mean when I say character?
I get like a gimmick.
Not even necessarily a gimmick. Like, Dan, if I didn't know you right now and I'd watched you for a couple of minutes, and I hear you talk, I'd see that you have character to you because you're a funny guy. You're not just coming out here and saying you're a podcaster. You're just going to talk. It's what you do. No, you're showing that you have character to you. Craig has character to him because he can sit there, he can just lay back and seem like he doesn't care. But as he's talking, you're feeling the character from it. Me, I miss the character. Just look at me, glasses, the full decked out attire.
Yeah.
Available now if you want to contact my inbox on any good social media platform. But character is what draws me to anything, not just wrestling. So the lack of character, and there's a big difference between character and being a character. But the lack of character is just what really pushed me away. So to still have Rosemary and various other people out there, Sue Young, who they're obviously doing the Susie thing with as well, to still have that out there is somewhat relieving.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Understood.
back to our wonderful wrestling historian with Craig McGuns.
Thank you, great one.
Uh,
And you are not only have character, but you are a character, a very great at self-promoting character. The great Harry Barnett merchandise is on sale, like you said, at his website, on his email, and please get it now. The great HB, spewing greatness coming out of every orifice.
ooh. Ugh.
Thank you, sir. You don't have to smell it, Dan. I'm just saying, he
All
just
right.
oozes greatness.
All right.
What was the last thing I said? What was the
I
last
don't.
thing you
I
got?
don't remember. The technical difficulties made me forget. So just go on to the next one,
Okay.
please.
So February 18th, 1985 was the start of WrestleMania, the war to settle the score. Hogan versus Piper. Uh, Unfortunately, that same date, February 18th, is a dark day in professional wrestling history because February 18th, 1993, was the day that Kerry Von Erich
Oh.
committed suicide. He had already been indicted on cocaine possession, which meant he violated his probation, which meant he was looking at jail time. How much, I don't know, but the fact that he was going to be in jail for a period of time was too much for him to handle. Uh, he didn't think his career could handle it. He was already keep in mind, this was the same Kerry Von Erich who lost his foot
Yeah.
in a motorcycle accident where he was riding with shorts and flip flops on, no
Oh.
helmet, no pads or nothing like that. And despite all of that, he still had a successful wrestling career. He was the Intercontinental Champion in the WF with one foot, beating Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam 1990 right here in Philadelphia with one foot. So he still had a prolific career, but the drug problem that he had never really went away. Whether the wrestling with the prosthesis meant that he had to increase his drugs, or that was just a just continued on what his regular habit was. He had been arrested for forging prescription pain medication or for forging prescription pills, whether they were for pain or not. I don't know, but when he was caught with cocaine that violated his probation, he was looking at jail time, too much for him to handle. He went to the Von Erich farm with his own handgun, and he took his own life. Um, he would be the only Von Erich, besides Kevin, to live past 30 years old. Um, Kerry Von Erich left us at the age of 33.
Jeez.
2 years later, on that same date, February 18th, um, we lost another giant of professional wrestling at the same age of 33. He died in a hotel room in Puerto Rico. Before that, though, he set up roots right here in Philadelphia and would lay the groundwork for the most successful indie promotion of all time. But on February 18th, 1995, we said goodbye to the one and only hot stuff, Eddie Gilbert. Uh, like I said, Eddie, he had before he had his own place in Puerto Rico. He
Yeah.
was working that territory too. But before that, laid the seeds, laid the groundwork right here in Philadelphia for Eastern Championship Wrestling. Um, and with Todd Gordon and with his former manager, Paul E. Dangerously, uh, set the wheels in motion, laid the groundwork for what would go on to be ECW. Um, Eddie had an incredible career um, in the Mid South, in Tennessee, uh, in the early part of WWF, and um, and later in WCW. But he would go on in Memphis to be one of the great heels and in all of wrestling, and have one of the best wrestling minds ever. He came from the business. His father Tommy was an accomplished wrestler, but Eddie had such a head for business and had such a great heat magnet. Uh, he was a way before his time. He was the master of the fake face turn, of letting you believe he was such a great heel, but if he wanted you to believe he was turning good, you bought it, hook, line, and sinker. Two of the best angles I've ever seen on television was the Eddie Gilbert, Tommy Rich, Bloody Massacre. They had won Tag Team of the Year in Memphis, and were voted Tag Team of the Year by the WFIA, Wrestling Fans International of America. But Tommy Rich had already won the international championship. Eddie was jealous of that and said, "Well, I'll accept it on behalf of us because Tommy's going to Japan somewhere. He's not a real team player." And attacked Eddie Gilbert, bloodied him on TV on morning Saturday morning TV with Lance Russell bleeding a gusher, and he came out and said, "Tommy, I'm sorry. If you would forgive me, I'm sorry. Um, I got a big head. I got a big ego. I need you, man. I need us to be tag team champions." And Tommy came out, shook his hand, and put his arm around Eddie, and Eddie put his arm around him, and then shoved Tommy into the turnbuckle, and then Tommy Rich bled a gusher, head over his head. So they both were bleeding all over Saturday morning TV, but the fake face turn by Eddie Gilbert worked. He would do the same thing in the UWF when he was managing uh, Kurchenko, a big Russian guy, and Bill Watts had punked him out and knocked him out. And Eddie Gilbert came out the next day with a Russian flag and said, "Mr. Watts, I've been with people that I shouldn't, and I aligned myself with this flag, and I went against my country, so I'm going to give this flag to you, and you can do whatever you want with it." And as he was making his speech, his other tag team, the Blade Runners, Ultimate Warrior and Sting, were
Hmm.
there on the aisle, and he said to Bill Watts said, "No, no, I'm still going to manage the Blade Runners though, because they're American. But I'm giving you this Russian flag, and you can do whatever you want with it." And Bill Watts goes, "Let's burn it!" And everyone was cheering. And then in the ring comes the Russians, Ivan Koloff, Nikita Koloff. They jump Bill Watts. They lay him down. They beat him with a chain. And the Blade Runners were out there just to block the entrance. So all the baby faces, Hacksaw Duggan, Terry Taylor, Dr. Death Steve Williams, and Ted DiBiase couldn't make it in the ring. And Eddie Gilbert took that Russian flag that he had just gave to Bill Watts and laid it across Bill Watts, the prone body of Bill Watts, under the with the screaming of Jim Ross. "Oh, you better kill him! You better kill him! Bill Watts is not going to like that being covered with a Russian flag. That Eddie Gilbert, he fooled us all." Eddie Gilbert was a pioneer in professional wrestling. Um, I always thought, Dan, when he was a face his entire time in WCW.
Yeah.
One half of the United States Tag Team Champions with Ron Simmons, Sting's manager. He was always a face. But Eddie Gilbert, to me, had he been a heel like he was in Memphis, like he was in the Mid South, Eddie Gilbert would have made a perfect horseman.
Yeah. And he would have been in WCW to the end. He would have never left.
No,
That would have been a spot that you couldn't have put anybody else in that spot if he was ever a heel and allowed to do what Eddie Gilbert was going to do.
yes,
That's just my
I
2 cents about it.
and I agree with that. Your 2 cents. I also echo the sentiments of Paul Heyman, who knew Eddie very well, who managed him in Tennessee and in the Continental Wrestling Association. He said Eddie was more. It seemed like Eddie wanted to be the next Jerry Lawler more than he wanted to be the first Eddie Gilbert.
Wow.
Yeah,
Say
but
no more.
we said goodbye to Eddie Gilbert February 18th, 1995, and that, my friends, is called the Wrestling Historian.
So on a fluke, Thank you, Craig. Through all of your technical difficulties, I'm going to say your technical difficulties, we got through an awesome wrestling historian as always, and I'm going to elaborate on this lovely person who's joining us now. While you're going on the wrestling historian, Polygon Princess and I are just having a chat, like a very long chat in Twitch, and I want to say, first of all, before I formally introduce you, thank you for supporting the show, even just a little bit. I do appreciate it more than you know. Polygon's knowledge of wrestling rivals myself and yours, Craig. Okay, it's not as good. Fine, it sucks compared to mine and Craig. What I'm trying to say, I'm just kidding.
There's a middle ground between them.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Polygon is very, very knowledgeable. I asked her how long she's been watching wrestling. Hi, Amber. And she said 1997, which A, made me feel old, and B, I had to point out because as you're going, Craig, the whole point was as you're going with the historian, it's like pop-up video. Polygon's just adding all kinds of extra crap to it. Try not to curse, by the way, Polygon, just so I don't have to edit the audio. She's just adding...
And doesn't like work.
I don't like work. No, I'm 36. I've done enough work. She's just adding stuff as you're going. And when I was thinking about this topic, I know Polygon through Primetime, but I didn't want to say, hey, you want to come on the podcast? But after Craig dropped off the 800th time, I was like, Polygon, would you like to come on and talk about Nyla? And she said yes. It is a perfect opportunity to get this discussion, to have a fourth voice on this, because some of us have a lot to say about this. We're going to talk about Nyla Rose. So, ladies and gentlemen, follow Polygon Princess on Twitch and welcome her to HIAC Talk Radio. Hello.
Wow,
so,
that introduction, I don't think I can live up to the hype, to be honest with you, but we'll try.
I mean...
You'll be great. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's with me. You'll be fine. I'm here. So just live up past me and you'll be fine, which is easy to do.
It's not hard. Dan doesn't understand how...
I just said that, Craig, Harry, Bill, Joe. I don't know names tonight. It's been a long day.
Craig's taking all my heat today.
Okay, you brought me on. Get to it.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. Shut up, Harry. Okay.
To the point, I like her. I like you.
So, finally, I think she should have been champion at the beginning, but after seeing all the BS that has come out since then, I can understand why they didn't jump right to it. Well, I can't understand why, but that's not...
Fun fact, I was at that show, second row seats, when she wrestled Rio for the first time. I think it would have made perfect sense for her to win the first time, right? I mean,
it's just me.
Not only do you have, like, I guess in a nihilistic way, you have a buzzworthy, like, story to make, but it was literally in her hometown, like, in front of all of her friends and family, which I guess in wrestling, if you're in your hometown, you usually lose.
Yeah.
But it could have been, like, a great opportunity. I'm fine with Rio being the first champion. I think she, is obviously really talented. It's unfortunate that she wasn't there as much as she should have been, considering the fact that she was their champion. She's one of the people that is representing your brand. So it was only a matter of time for them to get the belt off her. And I think going forward, they're going to think consciously about who to put the belt on, who's there, consistently and is more, like, exclusively signed with them versus generically, like, not necessarily generically, but more loosely signed with them. Like, you wouldn't put the belt on someone like Jeff Cobb, who's a free agent, right?
Well, you wouldn't think so.
Well, yeah, but
I do chalk this up to them still trying to figure stuff out. I mean, they are still less than a year in, so I do give them benefit of the doubt. I'm not as gung-ho about things as the rest of Twitter seems to be, where I need it now, it needs to happen now. I was upset she wasn't the champ instantly, but as you said, I enjoyed Rio's run, and she was having great matches, which got me... That's what started an argument while we were at the Maryland show, the Baltimore, Maryland show, with guys that were at the show live because they just flat out disrespected her, and I was like, I don't want to be part of this conversation, and decided to get a big head about it. Just show some respect. It's not what you want to see, but it's not for you.
Exactly.
Nyla Rose is not for everybody. Let's get to the crux of the matter. Nyla Rose is, as far as I know, and this is what we're going to say, first transgender women's wrestling champion ever. I
Not
think
ever,
not
definitely not
ever.
ever, but
No,
definitely part of in the terms of a major organization, absolutely. But
okay,
ever, definitely not.
okay. You're most likely 1,000. I'll just say this: you're 100% correct. Acknowledged worldwide. It is a big story. I don't think I think her ability and her tenure in wrestling goes without saying. I think it's a no-brainer. But of course, you have the mouth breezers. We're not going to name by names because there's a reason they're not getting booked anywhere.
Oh,
Um, on a bigger level and a smaller level in Virginia. There you go. There's the teacup.
there's the team.
That well, I'm just going to put it out there. That's it. Well, she's not a woman. She's a man. And then say she's a man. I'm like, well, you said that sentence wrong anyway. If you're going to be insulting, you idiot. Um, why is that stigma still a thing? Polygon print.
So this criticism of it's not necessarily exclusive to Nyla, right? This is an experience like that a lot of trans people go through, and the reason that this occurs is essentially because of people who think that biology is both rigid and determinate of who you're going to be, and the reality is, as we see by the fact that there are trans people and gender non-conforming people, it's not the case. It's never going to be the case. It never has been the case, and it never will be the case. But the reality is that some people are so enclosed. Like, I look at it as there's two sets of people that say things like that. They're the ones who are simply just like oblivious, and there are the people that are intentionally saying things like that, either because they think it's wrong for religious reasons. They think it's wrong. I'm trying to think of like other reasons that they would think it.
Political reasons, or they think it's wrong sexually. They think
Yeah.
it's wrong.
Some people are doing it as like a, like, I'm not trans, like, but they are trans, but they don't want to admit it, sort of thing. So they try to distance themselves. It's the same thing when you have like homophobes on Grindr, like trying to date rent boys. It's the same exact principle.
just the idea is foreign to me, but that's just me.
I mean, how many? I guess I don't want to make this gear off like too political, but this is like a political
I don't
topic by
care.
nature.
Do what you got to do.
But it's that same principle that like if I distance myself from this, people won't perceive me as this. And then there's people that are trying to rationalize an attraction to trans people. They're like trying to like think like, I run into this all the time. Guys that like are transphobic, like they're like completely transphobic and totally rude, but they'll message me like, "Hey, cutie," things like that. Like, I'm serious. Like, it's a real
I know.
thing.
I've seen it. I've seen the screenshots. Well, I've seen what you've shared.
But
Go ahead. Finish. Don't let me cut you off.
But I'm just saying that like the pushback that Nyla is getting is very indicative of the trans experience, in that like you have this very like vocal subset of people that believe that like if you're born with a penis, you're always going to be a man. No matter what you do, you're going to be a man. If you're born with a vagina, you're always going to be a woman. That's it. Can't change it. But then they never take into account intersex individuals.
Well, they don't exist.
Well, yeah, they don't exist apparently, because they're just like, they just portray them as like deformed like men or women, and that's not the case.
I mean, look how homosexuals, look how transgender, bisexuals have been treated like cattle for years.
You can take some of the rhetoric used against people like Chris Canyon back in the day, copy and paste it, and replace gay with trans. Same exact message, same exact wording, just replacing like the subject.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. The same criticisms aimed at trans women were aimed at gay men in the 1990s.
Hmm.
Um,
And
Can
they
I?
go,
go ahead,
Craig, go
sorry.
ahead.
I was going to ask you, PP, with all that can't be the first time you've heard that.
No,
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 definitely
okay.
not.
Craig's a
Um,
comedian in his spare time, which is all the
yeah,
time.
yeah. See how I came up with that? Just right off the top of my head. Amazing. I want to get your opinion on whether or not AEW is dropping the ball on this, since this is such a hot button topic. Wouldn't that wouldn't that give your promotion more of a lift, of a jolt, if you start promoting Nyla Rose as the first transgender wrestling champion, uh, and following along the Vince McMahon edict of no publicity is bad publicity is good publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Would you, if you were A&W, would you turn into this skid and market Nyla Rose as that?
So it's interesting that you asked that because I think this is not necessarily something that's just exclusive to AEW, but kind of indicative of like a lot of businesses. Like, you
Hmm.
know, like there's two main arguments that I feel. Are there, I could like see either situation panning out. And the reason I say that is like by them not necessarily like acknowledging it on air, they're indicating like Nyla Rose is just part of the women's division. That's
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Accept it. That's what it is at face value. Nothing needs to be said about it. Um, and so that can be a very like validating experience for trans people. To be like, all right, you know, like the trans part is like not even important in any capacity. It's like you're just a woman. You're wrestling other women. You're a women's champion. Bam. The other side is that, you know, by basically not having her, I don't want to say like advertise, but like be open on Dynamite, you know,
Hmm.
about being trans, like they're that you're not like having that vocal representation of trans people on your
Yeah.
product, right? So there's a case for and against for both. Me personally, like I don't really care any particular way. Like she is who she is and she's a women's champion. And if transphobes don't like that, watch
Tough.
WWE.
Yeah, they don't have any they don't have
They
a
don't have
trans
any
champion
trans
there.
people at
Yeah,
all. Like,
there you go. Uh,
problem solved.
Harry,
Good.
no. Before you go, Harry, I just want to say, you have this weird, based on Cody's press conference, you have this weird where he said, and I don't agree with it. This is just my feelings. Where he said, "Don't give them oxygen." But at the same time, you have this weird no man's land where not giving them oxygen allows them to keep saying what they're saying. And I, I, I don't believe in the whole social justice warrior thing. These people need to be just need to be told to shut up. Like
So
that's just me.
before Harry goes, I just want to say this isn't that's not necessarily exclusive to trans people. Like that's been the same thing with sexuality, with being just a woman in general, not necessarily just trans. Um, People of color, especially Black people,
Yeah.
and things of that nature. So it's not like these criticisms and these arguments and things like that are not necessarily exclusive to trans people. It's more so about minority groups in general.
I didn't mean to say. I was just staying
No, I
on
know what you're
topic.
saying, but I'm saying that
Okay.
argument about like, you know, like don't feed into the like don't feed into the trolls or anything. Like in one way, like you said, like these people need to be shut down and be told that hey, like this is not acceptable. Stop talking like this, stop being like this, stop going around and like harassing people. But at the other time, like, you know, are you validating that like, all right, I'm putting my energy into you and wasting my time on you? It's just that I don't know. I mean, there's not really like a right or wrong way to approach that situation. It's just using your best judgment.
Harry, go ahead
And
because then I have a follow up.
that's probably the perfect feed into what I was going to say, because I mean we really still whether it's misunderstanding or whether it's purposefully, we still live in such a black and white world that, you know, you the way people will see Nyla's situation or anyone, whether, like you're saying, sexuality, gender, color, anything like that, it's still a right or wrong world, and you know, not there is no right or wrong. You know, what I may see as right, Dan may see as wrong. What Craig may see as right, Polygon Princess may see as wrong. Like, there is no right or wrong in this world anymore, other than the fact that I don't see why people can't just live their lives and just leave each other alone to
Like it literally it affects you and the two people I'm speaking of specifically and others as far as this subject. It affects you not at all. What?
Exactly.
So if in fact, in my opinion, it makes somebody more brave and more courageous to say, you know what, I'm not a man. I'm not a dude. I don't feel like I'm a man. I'm a dude. I'm gonna change the way I am, so I'm comfortable with myself now, and I can live happily, which is, in my opinion, more brave than me just waking up every morning and go, I have a penis. Like, that's just my thought.
Like, I can't fathom the idea that, like, because you see, like, some of the criticisms that these people have are like, oh, they're pushing an agenda, they're like taking over, and it's like, how is 0.1% of the population taking over anything?
It's what I said the other week. I sent you the video. Like, it's not, nobody's pushing an agenda. It's just that you've had your way silencing African Americans, homosexuals, transsexuals. Is that the correct word?
Well, it's more of a dated term. Depends on who you really ask. I personally don't care. Like, I don't use that term, but I like
transgender. Sorry, I was thinking the word
trans by that term.
Right, transgender. Rocky Horror Picture Show. I get the name stuck in my head sometimes. Transsexual, Transylvania, transgender, bisexual, black, Spanish, Hispanic, green, yellow, turquoise people. You've been holding them under your thumb for all these centuries, and it's 2020, and they're just tired of being held under your thumb and just want to live normally. That's all.
Here's the thing: gender variance, contrary to what people might have you believe, is that it's like a recent phenomenon. Like, you have cultures that have had two-spirited individuals for thousands of years.
Yep.
It's not like this. It's not like this was just like invented. You know, it's just like now that we have technological ability to address this medically, and we also have the we have language that we've developed to sort of like discuss this topic with people. I just think it's so ridiculous that you have, you know, people declaring that it's a mental illness and things of that nature when the World Health Organization and disclassified gender dysphoria from the DMSV, I believe. Or not, maybe not gender dysphoria, but just being trans in general. It's not a mental illness. Gender dysphoria is something that is considered a mental illness, that in the medical treatment for that is transitioning. And it's not like this is brand new. It's not like people are just doing this. Like, people have been medically transitioning since the 1950s, maybe even before then. Definitely the 1950s at least, though. So, I don't know. It's just...
I do want to add to something Harry said. I don't want to correct him, but I just want to say there is a line of being right and wrong, and using those two gentlemen again as examples. A lot of the things I see, a lot of what I hear being repeated or see being repeated is, that's just my opinion. Your opinion's not valid when it's not based in fact. When you say she's not a woman, she's a man, that's the end of your opinion because it's incorrect. I'm telling you, you're wrong.
It's an opinion. It's just a pretty dumb one.
It's very dumb.
Pretty like baby brain opinions have.
Go ahead, Harry.
To say that about the right and wrong thing, Dan, I'm probably the most uneducated person around when it comes to this particular subject. So me being as loud of a voice as I am, sitting back here quietly and just sort of reeling in this conversation, like I do feel as though I'm learning something, but I still feel as though you're saying, your opinion's wrong, Dan, when it comes to. I lost my train of thought there.
I'm just an a-hole about it because I'm tired of seeing it. I'm not.
Yeah, no.
I'm not. No. I'm not arguing with you, Harry. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes in life. I try to learn from life. I've said words. I've been very vocal about this. When I was a kid and a teenager, I said stupid things. Not to faces because I'm not an idiot that wants to get shot in Camden County or Camden, New Jersey. Craig. I've said stupid things, made stupid jokes, and used terrible terms. And you know what you do? You grow up and you go, I shouldn't say that because it's not appropriate in any form. If you can grow up, that's different. If you're still saying the same BS that you were at 17 at 36, you're part of the problem. You're not evolving. You're not changing. You're keeping a closed line. And sometimes because I grew up around people that were like that, I'm an a-hole about it. And, gets me into trouble.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because wrestling is scripted. Like, I know this might be like very like hard to accept for some people, but wrestling is predetermined. There's literally people booking this shit. Sorry.
What? I'm not editing this. I'm not editing the audio. I don't care anymore.
Well, that was primarily my problem with the whole Nyla Rose thing in the first place when it comes to Rio. Why is anyone the stature of Nyla Rose, male or female, taking bumps from a 95-pound schoolgirl? That's my biggest problem with the whole Nyla Rose thing. Why didn't she just squash everything in her path to become champion? Like you said, she should have been champion in her hometown. But even if the match took place in Ottumwa, Iowa, why is Nyla Rose person taking bumps from a 96-pound, 12-year-old schoolgirl?
Okay, so people had the same criticisms about Rey Mysterio back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, and he had to like prove himself and work to show that like just because like Rey Mysterio is small, like he can sell a very believable David versus Goliath story. And I think Rio also understands that that's the position she's going to be in for the rest of her life, right? So she has to always work at that sort of like David versus Goliath angle. And I think it was pretty like effective for them. I mean, yeah, like I see like, like, well, doesn't that make Nyla look like a freaking dork because she lost to some 96-year-old? Like 96-year-old, oh my god!
You did it too.
Can you imagine if she was 96-year-old?
Well, she weighs the same as a 96-year-old. They're both under 100 pounds. But the thing, and I get your Rey Mysterio analogy. The only thing is Rey Mysterio had already been established as beating bigger guys. Even if you were a WCW mark, when Rey Mysterio came to the WWE, unless you were completely under a rock, you knew this guy could go. You knew he could. So, he had a reputation. Sorry.
So I, as someone that was sort of like a kid during the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression era, I didn't actually see Rey Mysterio wrestle in WCW because I was definitely more of like a WWF fan at that time. And I would occasionally like watch Nitro if I was bored with what was on Raw. But
you've heard Dan now. You've heard Dan now.
Yes, them's fighting words. But go ahead, PP.
No,
I mean, you know what, Dan? You would be a WCW mark.
I quit.
A negative mark.
Check out a shirt. Come back, Dan. Come back.
Go ahead, Polly.
Oh my gosh. No, but
yeah,
what was I gonna say? I saw Rey Mysterio debut on SmackDown. That was the first time I ever saw Rey Mysterio, and I was completely enthralled. I saw that he was small, but just the way that he moved, like, completely like captivated me. It made me like fall in love with him instantly.
Good.
And whenever if he's like booked in a match with like the Big Show or Brock Lesnar or someone like that, I was like, I wonder how Ray's gonna like escape and like weasel around and things of that nature. So I get that like that sort of dynamic of someone of Nyla's stature, which by the way, she's not very tall. She's like 5'7".
Yeah.
She looks a lot bigger on TV than she is. Like
compared to Rio, though, she's she might as well be Awesome Kong.
Well, yeah, exactly, right. But I get that it's not for everybody. For me, I didn't care. I enjoyed it. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, people sort of had like to take this to more of like an extreme level. I mean, in DDT, you had people wrestling freaking like blow up dolls.
Yeah. And that's always been my problem with
Jimmy loves
well
that.
AEW with Kenny Omega and the way he books the women's division, because I knew the Rhea was going to be champion only because that's Kenny Omega's, his that's his taste, the Japanese schoolgirls, regardless of their talent. And it's not a knock on Rio, but yeah, Nyla Rose should have been your inaugural champion. She's your Brock Lesnar of the women's division, and
I'll
should be booked as such.
I'll double down. She should have been the world champion before Tessa Blanchard was Impact champion for other reasons. That's just my opinion. Um, we've run really long tonight, so Polygon, if there's anything you want to finish up with, anything I missed or haven't asked you, please.
Um, I guess now is the women's champion. Get mad about it.
Okay, let's close it up. Craig, where can people follow you?
They can follow me if they so choose, and on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter at Craig Lagans, CraigLiggeons.
Harry, we'll have you on in next week or two to continue your smiting of others in New Jersey. Where can people follow you in the meantime?
On all good social media platforms, and while I'm trying to get Mark Angel versus Hornswoggle booked, is at the Great HB.
Polygon Princess, your Twitch channel and your Twitter, please. Where can the people follow you?
So my Twitch is Polygon Princess and my Twitter is Princess Polygon.
That's why I couldn't find you for the link. I was like, Polygon. Oh yeah, it's backwards.
Polygon Princess is taken by a bot account, and I'm so upset.
Oh,
I reported the account to see if they would delete it, and they haven't deleted it.
God.
Damn it.
Thank you very much for joining
Dan's
us.
still mad that Captain Neckbeard is taken, so he can.
Captain Neckbeard! Neckbeard! He didn't even call me Neckbeard. He called you a Neckbeard. I don't know, Polygon, if you
Listen,
saw.
your neck bearded, Mark. Calm down.
Neck bearded Mark. Wow.
I'll send you the links later, Polygon. It was about this very conversation. Follow me on Twitter, DanLaw83, the HIAC Talk Radio Network. If you just type in HIAC Talk Radio or thebradyhicks.com, the VOC Nation Radio Network, find us there. Follow, like, share, subscribe. Just hit the like button, the share button. It's not that hard. For Craig Lagans, the great Harry Barnett for keeping his mouth shut, and the lovely Polygon Princess for joining us so late with late notice, I'm Dan Calachico, and Amber, we'll see you next week. Have a good one.